Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and let's get right into it. The Twosun Ts301. Very impressed with it. I'm very impressed with it. Let's get right into it. So we have a clip point 14C28N blade, and the clip point is a flat ground blade that does have a very tall flat grind. Now you see the satin finish on it. It has stone washed flats going around the edge, which is very cool. Now the micarta is good quality compared to, I'm impressed with it. I'm impressed with it because let's just say Twosun hasn't had the best reputation for good quality micarta. Most of their micarta has been crap, and this is good. I'm happy with it. Then it has carbon fiber, and they sit over the top of a titanium frame lock. It does have a steel lock bar insert. You can see the screws right there to the steel lock bar insert. Titanium clip and back spacer. And T8s all the way around, you know, except for the steel lock bar insert, which, you know, I love to see that. And Twosun has good hardware, good quality hardware. It is steel hardware, but it's good quality, and I really like it. And a lot of times steel can be better than titanium hardware. Not always, but a lot of times because it's harder, and, you know, some titanium hardware can be very soft. Now, getting into this knife now, man, it's pretty awesome. The ergos are really nice on it. It does have this is kind of in between the jimping I like and don't like. So I like it. It's okay. It is spread apart, but it works great. It's very, very grippy. Now the ergos, you can see how neutral the ergos are. I mean, it's thick in this dimension, and it's semi-tall in this dimension. So it makes it to where it is super comfortable in the hand, whether you're talking about for the push cuts, you know, any grip basically is very comfortable with this. It's rounded in the back, and the jimping on the back spacer does create a little bit of grip in your palm. Now, getting into the action, so the action is really good, and the acoustics. So let's listen to the acoustics and check out some of the action. So the thumb studs are very well placed, and they look good too. Not only do they look good, but they function really good. They do sit a little bit proud of the scale, but they're very easy to access. And the detent, man, when you push those thumb studs, it flies out with authority. Very, very well-tuned detent. And since the thumb studs are very grippy, it's very easy. You can basically just rest your thumb there, give it a little flick, and it flies out. Same thing with the reverse flick. Very, very well placed. Very easy to do. Let's listen to the detent really quick. It's a strong detent, but not too strong. It's perfect for these thumb studs. Now, the lock bar access, you know, you see it does have a little poke here and a little poke here. You know, it's not hard to get to get. It's actually pretty easy. Now, when you push it though, the detent ball is very early, as you can see. And also, I forgot to say, the thumb studs are also the stop pin. So you can see how big that stop pin is from the thumb studs, and it locks up on titanium. Now, getting past the detent is very easy because right there's the detent, and it does have a detent ramp. So even if you weren't past it, which you're gonna be, you can just swing past it, or you can just push right past it without an issue, because the Twosun does great ramps. So even if you are on it, you can just swing right past it. Now, seeing that you're gonna be past it, because it's always past it, if you let it hit your thumb, even if you hold up really high right here, it's still past it. When you do let it drop, you do have this little area right here that will stop on your finger before the blade. If you hold it lower though, you're going to get the edge right there. So just depending on where you hold it, but it's very, very reliable, very easy to let it drop, and it is very smooth on the drop. After I got it about, I don't know, 24 hours of, carrying it, it got very, very smooth. Now I can loosen the pivot a tiny bit and make it a little bit more fall shut, and it'll still be very solid in the pivot, but I just recently, but regardless, it's very, very smooth, and I kind of like the way the action is right here, where it's very fall shut, but it's not just drop shut. Another thing I really appreciate from Twosun is that, well, their bearings, they use really good quality ceramic bearings that are caged in a plastic cage. The plastic cage won't be affected from anything, so it makes it to where it's a really good quality bearing. And they use, ceramic detent, they use reverse ramps, the detent ramps. They, just all like the inside of a Twosun is of the highest quality that you expect from very high-end knives. Now this little deal right here that they put in to get to the lock bar insert, the only reason why they did that was because the screws protrude just a little bit, so it gives it room when you unlock it. So not a big deal. And it kind of looks cool, if you ask me. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't, I don't hate on it at all. I mean, do what you got to do to make it work. But that's why, because the screws are not countersunk right there, and they're big, they use really good quality screws, so I'm not complaining about that. But like I said, if you turn the pivot just a little bit, it will be fall shut action. It is perfectly centered. Can't beat that level of centeredness. And the inlays and everything are extremely well done. Everything is just, it's so tightly fit. You can see the mill pattern on the carbon fiber, and it's almost like a cross-cut section of carbon fiber if you look at it right. Like, you can see how, let me see if I can get it. It plays with the light, and it's very nice. The carbon fiber is well done, and it looks really, really nice. I like the carbon fiber cut that they put on here, and the fitment and the quality. Now, the ergos, like I was saying, are super comfortable. Now with cutting, holy cow, does this thing cut good. This thing is a slicing beast. Not only is it thin behind the edge, but being such a tall blade, it gives you insane geometry. And look at that sharpening choil. Look at the meat on the bones there. Plunge grind starts here, ends right here. They give you all of that life. So you're going to get a lot of life and a lot of sharpenings out of this knife. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, getting in to the cutting performance, it's about 15 thousandths behind the edge. So at 15 thousandths behind the edge, it slowly goes up to the blade stock thickness, which is, a nice strong thickness, but it's not crazy thick, it's not crazy thin. It's in the medium category of thickness. It's very suitable for this knife, especially with the geometry it has. So cutting with it, man, it flies through things.
Like butter.
And 14C28N takes a crazy good edge. We'll get more into that here in a second. But I did bring it to work. I used it at work. I cut with it at home. I cut a lot with it. I did use this thing a lot because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed cutting with it. And I'm not the biggest clip point buoy fan or clip point fan, especially this kind. But regardless, it did work out very well. Now, getting into utility cuts. Now, this is where, I know this this blade shape doesn't do utility cuts a lot of justice. Now, the reason why they don't do as good with utility cuts is because you have to lift up so high to get to the tip, and you're not going to have as much leverage through or pulling through the cuts. However, with this one's geometry, it winds up working out good considering, but in a lot of cases, blade shapes like this, you know, they just don't work out great, especially if they have a thick tip because of how high you have to lift your arm in order to get it. Now, if you're just going straight into something and pulling down, that's a little different, but anytime you got to point down at something and cut through it with the tip. But in this case, it winds up working out pretty good. But because of the tip being the precision tip it is, very acute, and because of the geometry right here in the belly, it works. It does work pretty good considering the blade shape. Now, I'm not saying it's a utility cutter, but it works. Now, doing straight cuts are going to be the best, you know, for it doing utility cuts. It's just, you know, straight cuts. But, you know, it can do circles and S cuts, but S cuts aren't the best. But it can still do it. It's just not great at it. But for basic utility cuts, a straight cut, it works fantastic. Now, it's not too often you're going to be doing the crazy S cuts and circle cuts and stuff. But if you did, you know, this isn't the best blade shape for that. Now, getting into the clip. Now, let me just say, I don't like these kind of clips. But, however, he did a good job with this, or Twosun did a good job with this. I don't know if Mazwan had them make it a little different because he likes these clips, but it is different than my other Mazwan clip. If you look at my other one, this is the Twosun Ts301, which I don't like the clip on this one. It's also sitting on frag pattern. It is a little different, and this one works better. It's thinner. This one's thicker. You can see how like they put like a mill hole on the bottom of it to make it a little weaker, but man, it's just so strong. This one, not as strong, and it winds up working out pretty decent. So in this case, it's okay, and it's on a soft micarta, so it winds up working out. But usually, I don't like these type of clips, ball clips or any type of ball clip, but this one works just fine. In and out of the pocket, it winds up working, and it's not bad. It doesn't sit crazy deep, but it works. It works okay in and out of the pocket, not very bad. So I'm happy with it, and I didn't mind carrying it, unlike a lot of other ball clips that I dread carrying. Now, getting into a couple other little details that I really like about this knife. So it does have ceramic caged bearings that run on a little washer that has a track in it. So that's awesome. So now the bearings aren't riding directly on titanium. They actually ride on steel, which is a good thing, which makes a very, very smooth action. And the detent is very well tuned. You can see the fit and finish is just done extremely well. There's no milling on the insides, but it doesn't need it because they have this all milled out for the scales. Taking Twosuns apart is incredibly easy. They're very, very simple to take apart. The cutting performance, the ergos, man, it just makes it good. And even for a clip point blade, I'm okay with it. Now let's talk about me not sharpening it. I didn't sharpen it. Now, why didn't I sharpen it? Well, one reason, I used it a lot to the point to where it kind of did need an edge, but I just honed it back. And it wound up stropping back so good. Before I ever even touched a hone, just a strop, it stropped back so good. I continued to use it to the point to where, it needed basically an edge, and I just honed it back at that point and then stropped it again. And it's still kicking, okay? Let me just say, it's still kicking. It doesn't really need an edge. And I've sharpened a lot of Twosun's 14C28N, so I don't doubt that it's not good Do you know what I mean? One, I can tell because it's, worked so good for me so far. And I'm obviously only talking about mine. I can't speak for yours if it's going to come with a burnt edge or not, but this one was fine, and it's holding up just fine. And I already know Twosun Ts301 is pretty good, and I like it a lot. And it sharpens up really good, takes a nasty sharp edge, and in this case, it still has a pretty sharp edge. You can see, I mean, it's pretty damn sharp still. And that's after stropping and honing it. Now let's get into some bad things. So there are a couple negatives. So one, I wish they would have just did stone washed all the way across the board. You can see the scratch, if it'll show, playing with the camera. You can see the scratches that I'm getting from the use, which, it's going to happen with this type of satin finish. I'm not happy with their satin finishes on their Sandvik steels. Now, I've noticed this is mostly only for their Sandvik steels, but man, it's just so fingerprinty. It's crazy. And it does take some scratches. Now, if you're not really worried about that, it's not that big of a deal, and it does clean up pretty easily. Now, the stone, just having like the stone wash that's on these flats up here, I would have preferred that across the board. I think that would have looked a lot nicer. Or if you're going to do a satin finish, do a deeper satin finish. Not so shiny, not so polished. Like, look at this thing, it's basically polished. I mean, it is almost polished. I mean, you can see reflections all over. That's right there, that's my mic arm. I mean, come on. We don't need it that polished. Just do a deep satin finish to where it covers up fingerprints. Next thing is this lock bar access. It's not bad, okay? I want to say it right now. It's not bad. It's very easy to deal with. However, it would have been nice for them to just cut this part out right here. And I know it wouldn't have looked as good. And I know it looks really good the way they got the finger thing. But if they would have just cut the titanium back a little bit and maybe left this insert the way it was and just cut just this little notch back so you can just come in from the side, that would have been very nice. It's a little pokey right there. It's not bad, but it is a little bit pokey. But you also can just go right on top of it without an issue since the detent ball is so early. So in all reality, I never really hit it. Or, I have by, just not really paying attention. But lately, I just go right on top of that pokey part and it's fine. One other bad thing is that the closing stop pin right here, where it lands when I close it, is right under the sharpening choil. Now, it's not hurting me from sharpening my knife. It does land literally in the plunge grind. You can actually see where it hits. It hits directly on the plunge grind right here, which is fine. It's not stopping me from sharpening the knife, but in the future, let's say I removed all of this steel because I've been just beating the heck out of it. Maybe I chipped the tip, maybe I chipped the edge, and I need to remove a ton of steel. I can't put my sharpening choil there. I'm gonna have to cut one in right here, which is not really that big of a deal, but I have to leave this area alone right here, and I will have to put my sharpening choil here and basically cut one in front of the plunge grind, basically like this. I would have to cut it out from here and go around a circle right here, which isn't that big of a deal. I can't put one in exactly where they already put it. And like I said, not that big of a deal, but I like to see stop pins placed in areas that make it to where I can easily, without affecting anything, put a sharpening choil in if I need to. But the good thing about this one is that they gave you a great one. That's a lot of life right there to remove from your edge. It gives you plenty of sharpenings. It allows you to lay the edge back, and it's very thin. So after multiple sharpenings, it will barely be any thicker behind the edge, if any. And you can actually see it right here. Look at how thin that is. Very, very nice. I wish that these were a little more available. Like, you can get them at White Mountain Knives. That's where I got this one, White Mountain Knives. I think I paid like 80, 90 bucks, something like that. Very, very, very affordable. This thing is worth that and way more. Let me say that much. This thing, think about this. If this was made in the US, how much would this cost? With the same steel, same everything, exactly the same. How much would it cost? Exactly. That's my point. This thing is, and I understand it's not made in America. I realize that, but I'm just saying the build quality, the fit and finish, the everything is so great on it that I feel like I underpaid, which is a good feeling when buying a quality tool. Now, that being said, they sell out so fast on White Mountain Knives. When you see them, you better get them quick. If you see one you like on there and it's there, get it, because it will be gone 10 minutes later. Now, the other thing is that getting them from eBay, you have to bid on them, which is fine. I don't mind bidding on them. You do have to wait about a month, between 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That's usually about the time. I have one on the way right now. I've been waiting already about 3 weeks, so it should be here any time. But the point is that you have to wait, and you can get them for a little bit better deal doing that, but it's just the hassle of bidding and having to watch the bids for 3-4 days. I like playing that game sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I like playing that game. The last one I did, I was bidding on like 4 or 5 of them, and not the same knife, but 4 or 5 different knives. I wound up winning one of them. But sometimes it is nice to just go to the damn site and pay for it and get it. Now, you can do that with these, but you're going to be getting it from AliExpress or Amazon, which Amazon's fine, but AliExpress, I don't really like to deal with. It's the same time as bidding on them, and in that case, I just might as well bid on it and get it for a little bit better price or the same. So I would like to see more places have these available, like Blade HQ and things like that. But that being said, they are bringing us a great quality tool with insane fit and finish, insane action, very cool designs. And between all their designs, you might not like 90% of them, and that's like me. 90% of them I don't like, but the 10% I do like, I love like a lot, and I'm always impressed. It seems like their build quality always gets better and better, and I like that. Let's check out a couple size comparisons really quick. Here's the Twosun Ts301, and you can see, you know what, let me tilt my camera down just a little bit so you guys can actually see it. They are basically the same, about the same length. Let me switch these really quick. Maybe the 129 is a tiny, tiny, tiny bit shorter. Not by much, though. The 195 is definitely a little shorter. This is more of a medium-sized knife. You can see. Love this one. This one's another Mazwan Mokhtar design. So, another one of the same designer. This is the Twosun Ts220. This is a Jelly Jerry design, and you can see it's a little bit shorter as well. This one is a full-size knife. Now, the 301, I forgot to say, this is a 3.5-inch blade, 8 inches overall. So, you can see that right here when we get to the Spyderco PM2, the same length. They are right there with each other. Maybe in the camera, they're the exact same. So, blade length, everything. So that gives you a good size reference, but I'm very impressed with their geometry, their action, fit and finish. I love that they did this with the sharpening choil. It's super impressive, and it makes me want to get more. Like every time I get a Twosun, it makes me literally want to go and order more, because I don't feel that I get this level of quality, build quality, fit and finish, action, etc. from other companies. Even the companies that are doing titanium knives for this price aren't doing all the bells and whistles that these do. I did a video where I compared these a Twosun to a Riat, and they were basically the same. And that blows you away when you think about it, because the Riat was like 3 times the price, if not 4. So there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.